So this is my painting that I'm working on presently, and I haven't finished the scene here. This is one of the lessons from Watercolor Secrets. It's the one from Venice. This is Santa Maria Bella Saluzzi, I think it's called. And then you can see my sky didn't work out great, and instead I put a couple canoeing here, and the rest of it has worked out fairly well, I think. And well, I think this whole painting is going to work out pretty well. I'm going to talk about it a bit, and then after that I'm going to talk about That Dirty Black Bag Season 1, which got top of the stack against those other movies. And we'll see how this goes. But before I talk about the painting, about how I got the various effects and whatever, I'm going to sing a song that I wrote, and this is called Nicki's Ferret. So I wrote this song on February 13th, 2024, and it's been mighty cold here in Lethbridge, so I haven't gotten out to sing it. So I'm just going to wing it and we'll see how it goes. Does Nicki's ferret know why Nicki's gone? Was Nicki's ferret there when Nicki died? I picture Nicki's ferret laying on her still dead chest. I wonder if he cried. Did Nicki's ferret try to wake her then? By nuzzling close with her cheek next to his? Did Nicki's ferret hope she'd breathe again? I'm wondering just where Nicki's ferret is. Wherever Nicki's ferret is today, I hope that someone's loving him right now. It's tough for pets when loved ones pass away. They'll love again if someone shows them how. No kid will love him just like Nicki did, since Nicki was a really special kid. That's that one. And that one was a sonnet. You may have recognized it as 14 lines. So, anyway, I'll talk about this painting. I wasn't doing this one for a while. I'd sketched it out, and I got really down about painting the watercolor stuff. So really, I mean, having the Watercolor Secrets out from the library and I'm not using it, well, that's a waste. But nobody else has put it on hold, so I guess that's fine. And but anyway, so I was sitting around. I'd planned out the gate is from one of the Watercolor Secrets lessons, and this is Simple Barn 1, which it's one of the first buildings and structures lessons, and I changed it a bit. I actually like what I did with the roof more than what he did. I like my gate and stuff like that. I stuck some other things in there, and I'm pretty happy with it. So how did I do this? Well, I did the sky first, and it didn't work really well, but I'm using dollar store paints, like that sky color, that's a dollar store watercolor paint. And then so I mixed that up and I put it on, and I got some water lines, and I'm like, oh, how am I going to get rid of them? I don't think I can, but anyway, so that happened. And then I put the yellow ochre all over the whole building. Now I could have done the fence at the same time, but I did not. So, because I used it there too. But anyway, I put the yellow ochre over the whole thing, and except for the door. And then I added the orange over top of the yellow ochre on this side where the sun's hitting. And then I added, instead of orange, I added brown over here where it's in shadow. And then I just went to work making shingles and stones, stones for the walls. And I used lighter colors for the stones here and darker colors for them here. I even put some black in here on the shadows on these ones. And yeah, where I didn't use very much black in the painting. There's black there, there's some black. It's not total black, but there's some black there where the door is open, where you're seeing into the darkness, and there's a little bit of black shadow around that thing and stuff. And the black on the donkey's legs in shadow, and his ears, and well, all that, and the boots. But that's about it. More black probably than I normally use. I don't use a lot of black. But anyway, so what had I done? So I looked at it and I'm like, okay, well I had planned on making the background of this red, the wall inside here red. And then at first I was kind of thinking, should I? And I finally decided, yeah, I should. So I made it red. But let's see, I used masking fluid so that I could reserve where the yarn thread is. And I used masking fluid on the tips of the fingernails. And the doorknob and the edge of the door here and the eaves troughs. I use masking fluid, and I think that's about it for that. But anyway, now I have a lot left to do on this little canoe scene. I'm gonna have to put some dark shadows where the canoe is down here, and then I'm gonna have to paint in the canoe, the people in the canoe and the canoe and all that, and that'll be fairly dark too. But yeah, what happened with the sky is I just didn't get it on fast enough. What I should have done is I put the yellow on first, and I put it over the whole thing, like he did. But the instructor is living in England, I believe, and even though he is working under hot studio lights or whatever doing this, it doesn't compare to winter in Lethbridge, the dryness inside. And so what I should have done is just did the sky, because I know there's a big barrier here anyway where it's going to be different. So I should have just done the sky yellow and then quickly put on the blue and violet so that it could blend right. And then deal with the water separately so that I could have gotten better effects that way. So now I know, and I'll work it out that way. But his idea of putting on I basically use the same color, you'll notice, for the building here as for the door, or buildings, whatever. And so I have the people going towards that, and I have the finger pointing towards the door too, right? It's like this person. So anyway, but his idea of tapping out some of the color with some paper towel, rolling it, tap, rolling, tap. It worked out really nice for getting some light and shadow suggested on the building. So I really like that. So anyway, I'll talk about this stuff. So there's quite a lot of violence in this, and graphic sort of stuff, whatever. It says enjoyably gruesome. I don't like the gruesome stuff, and honestly, I don't think the Wild West was particularly gruesome. But how do I know? I wasn't there. So, but maybe it was. I don't know. Anyway, I mean, people were quite more violent in the past. Even in Western society, they were more violent in the past than they are now. I mean, people used to pack around guns, and before that, people would pack swords on their hips. It's incredible. So, anyway, still, I like the story. There's a lot of, why this got top of the stack is basically you're not following one character and what's going on with them. There's quite a few people in this story that you're following. Okay, what's going on? Like, they are all related. They have interactions between each other or between characters, which they interact with, whatever. But you're not following one person. There is one main guy that you're following here, but it gives you a lot of variety while you're watching the show. And you can see there's a bigger story happening here, and it's unraveling, and you want to find out, okay, well, what's happening, right? So I look forward to season 2. It lives inside. Now, why this got second to the stack, I hummed and hawed over it, but I have never seen a movie like this, actually, and so I thought, well, it does deserve something. Like, it's just a silly little horror movie. And honestly, like, I've reviewed Homicide Hills in the past, and this one's season 3, so I like that, but I put this above. I think there's a bit of mystery here as to why her boyfriend, what happens with him, and compared to other people in the story, right? So, and there's something deeper here with the story than is just presented as the story. So I think it's interesting to watch that way, and try to figure it out, try to figure the mystery out behind the story makers, the storytellers. Anyway, and it's interesting to see something that's like from a different culture within our greater culture, I suppose. So, and I mean, above all that, it's a silly horror movie, and then you can see the kids, teenagers dealing with feeling like they're alone or misunderstood or whatever, and how that translates into a monster and stuff like that. And also the main character, you can see she wants to fit into greater society, I suppose, and is leaning away from her family, and then it ends up, how it ends up with her, how her diet has to be in the end and stuff like that, right? So yeah, I found it interesting. The special effects weren't great, but whatever, it worked well enough. What do you want with a horror movie? It's fine. So Homicide Hills season 3. This one you need to read subtitles unless you know German. But I do enjoy the show. It's a bit of comedy and whatever, but I didn't enjoy it as much as the first season, I have to say, and it just didn't rate as high as the others. That's all. But even though it's subtitles, I still like watching it. But that means that I can't, if I'm going to watch this, I can't be doing this. Whereas I did a lot of this one while I watched this dirty black bag. So I didn't even have to have my eyes on the gruesomeness of it, really. I can still get the story. And, well, I also went through this. So, the final season of Billions. I don't care for this show. I've reviewed a season or two in the past, and I just never got into it. The characters, they're just not fully believable to me. How they're created and developed over time, whatever. I just don't buy it. And honestly, I got a little bit confused at the end. I'm like, okay, so the main guy, he was he was making all of his stock holdings cash, and then somehow his cash disappeared. I don't get it. I don't understand what happened. But maybe that has something to do with the fact that I'm not watching it 100%. But you know, this isn't worth watching 100%. And that's the thing. Like, I don't even know if it's worth having on in the back. I never got into it. The Expanse season 6. This is terrible. So terrible. I just don't understand why. Are they trying to make some sort of message about South African people or something like that? Like, was this made in South Africa? I find it interesting that the characters, there's a bunch of characters that are speaking with an accent that is, I mean, they don't all nail it, right? But you can tell they're trying to do the same accent, and this is a space thing, and they're supposed to be from Mars, I think, or something like that. But I don't understand it. It seems, honestly, if it's not from South Africa, it just seems pretentious. It seems like, okay, so you wanted to put some actors in, but they couldn't nail a different accent. They had a South African accent and they couldn't nail, so you just made everyone, I don't know what, or maybe it's some sort of political thing, or I don't know. But in any case, I tend to not like politics stuff, and especially when it's told by people like this, you know, with space people, whatever. It just seems stupid. And I don't know. I did think that if they did this whole thing because of to try to give some political message. That's where but I don't know, right? But that's the feeling that I get, because there were some political things dropped. Like, there was one woman was talking about maybe they wouldn't have thrown stones at us if we hadn't made them prove themselves to us, or something like that. And I was listening to it and I'm like, no, everyone has to prove themselves. That's the thing about when you're in a society, you, like me, if James hadn't decided, oh, he needs somebody to make his food and whatever, and if he didn't want me to be doing what I'm doing for him, well, I'd have to be out proving myself to somebody else rather than James, you know, so that I would have value, which would translate to earnings to provide my shelter and food and whatever. It's just the way it is. Because otherwise, you have the people, you have some people who are having to care for the other people, like me, for example, without having to prove themselves. And then like, if I didn't have to prove myself to James and he decided, well, I don't like this, but I have to keep taking care of her, well, that's not right either, because then I'm enslaving him, right, for care, and that's not good either. So we do have to prove ourselves. We have to do what we can, and hope that somebody likes what we're doing, right? And as it turns out, James likes it when I paint, and he likes it more when I do the songs. And so that's good. As it is right now, I'm better at that than I am at painting. I don't always get things right, but I'm learning. But anyway, that's my thought on that. That it does seem like they were going for the political angle with this, but there were some good special effects. I'll say, like the regrowing arm in the little cylinder thing, that looked great. But honestly, it just seems kind of dumb. So that's it.